The murky wetlands of Limgrave hide a dangerous species of predator. Former soldiers turn to banditry. Highwaymen on the prowl for unsuspecting victims who forget to watch their surroundings for just a moment too long. Howdy y'all. Today I'm going to be talking about my low level poison build, consumables, and stealth. So first of all, this here is Terra the Tabby. She is my SL21. She is mainly a Vic Gouge, and she's wearing the Highwayman set. The thing about this build is that I focus on using poison primarily and rot as a secondary effect, with some of the perfumer weapons as sort of burst options on this build. Specifically, I am using the rope poison pots, and I am using the rot pots, and then the poison normal pots, and spark aromatics as my burst option. With the formalities out of the way, let's get to the actual video and see how good stealth and poison actually are at low levels, as well as how high damage spark aromatic will do to some people. Here to start off with, I'll show you a clip where I can talk a bit about poison and rot specifically. Here we have two people going down to one of the little dungeon cave areas, and this is the prime spot for poison and rot, since a single urn can usually trigger on both of them. And here, this overleveled is proc with both. He is on a timer right now. He is unlikely to ever manage to heal any of it, even if he had taken the time to do so. And there he goes. Same with this host. So far he's only poisoned, he hasn't been rotted yet, but he's also on a timer. He very likely doesn't have the cure, so I can just apply pressure freely and he will not really be able to do much, as seen here. Especially here at low levels, partially due to the lack of curing ailments, but also just straight up the lack of health. Both status effects are especially good here. For example, this astrologer here. This one poison pot could probably kill them as it is if they didn't heal. And if they get rotted too, then they are just straight up out of time. They will never be able to heal at all, and they won't ever be able to outlast the effect. So, when they start running, they have already sort of lost here. And in being hit by this pot, they couldn't probably have even gotten up the entire ladder if not for Blood Knight here. Although that is not to say that status effects are only good on lower level characters. It should be noted that rot and poison has become one of my favorite things to do against overlevel phantoms. Because for some reason it is like they turn off their brain the second they get summoned as overleveled. Especially visible here is a case of that. This single phantom for some reason decides that he just doesn't need to cure anything that he's hit by. He isn't curing the rot, he isn't curing the poison, nothing. He just decides that he can just live with it being on. And that is exactly what you want to happen in a situation like this, because otherwise this invasion will be very annoying to fight in general, because the scythe he's using is applying the Undead Hunter Charm effect on me, meaning that I can't really just heal here, and he's very content to just spam it as much as he possibly can. And in this instance I decide to back up a bit and get some space to hopefully be able to heal in a moment. And of course apply my tear in case I actually do get hit, so the Tears of Denial effect will save me hopefully. But that all being said, this entire time poison and rot has just been slowly ticking away on the overleveled in the background. As we can see, that has mounted up to a lot of damage, which allows us to actually burst him here. And now of course this singular host here is just sort of in trouble. He doesn't really have much of a chance at this point. He's still poisoned, he hasn't been rotted yet. The second he does get rotted, he's pretty much dead already then. He doesn't stand much of a chance of ever managing to outlast me, much less outdamage me at this point. He could potentially go and summon his phantom again, but even then, he's not gonna have the Estus to actually outlast me in the long run. And as we will come to see here in a moment, it doesn't even end up going that far. The second he's rotted, he starts ticking down very, very quickly. And now he needs to kill me in about 10 seconds if he wants to have a chance of surviving. But Horaloo's Earthshaker means that he doesn't even get that chance. It should be a surprise to no one that applying poison and rot is very beneficial in a duel setting. This guy here was sort of honor dueling here for a while, and as it turns out, just applying the status effects and rushing allows for a lot more pressure than not doing so. They don't really have the room to ever heal the way they want to, meaning they have to either get me off them or just die very quickly. And in this instance, their damage is lacking, so they don't even really have the potential to outdamage me in the long run, with the status effects going in the background, and of course, bleed from the daggers. As it turns out, rot and poison are especially useful when you are in cramped positions. For example, the caves in Limgrave are, to put it bluntly, they are too short and too small. If you do not have some sort of consistent damage over time on your opponent, you do not have much of a chance in these caves. So as you can see here, applying poison and rot on both these party members means that they don't stand much of a chance. At any time they could of course run to the boss, but at this point they might have maybe 2 or 3 Estus at most. So they don't really have much of a chance, especially if I can Storm Stomp them. That is just a second or two of just free damage taking on them, which of course I can also true combo into my daggers. And as you can see, nothing else is really needed. So far, my favorite, but also definitely the hardest place to invade, has been Murkwater Cave. The problem is that the Highwaymen are usually dead by the time you actually invade, so now you have one room with no PvE and usually 3 people just standing around waiting for you. So this is where poison and rot especially become important. You need to have damage ticking as you're avoiding people, because that is what you'll be doing most of the time here. You also especially need to use your choke points, as it has turned out here, and anything you can do with burst will save you in the long run. As you can see, here I'm fighting one guy that is especially set up to fuck me over here, and one guy that wasn't. This one phantom here is the biggest threat in this entire party, partially due to his bleed and partially due to his rot setup. Thankfully, he himself has not cured either, so he is slowly dying. Now, with just the host left, it becomes a case of, can I hit this big weapon art on them? I wanted to, but I don't even recall if I end up doing so in the end. But once again, applying the status effects so we can kill them slowly, and then they get a trade, they're dead. But enough about poison and rot only. Let me show you what the main draw of this build has been for me. Stealth. Specifically, the use of Assassin's Gambit has been one of the most fun parts of this entire build for me. When doing this, I suddenly disappear to these people. When I run up here and duck into this bush, I am gone. It is as if I was never there to begin with. And the most impressive part is they don't even search around for me very much. It is as if they don't even consider the idea that I could be here anymore. And for that very reason, I can sneak up on them. It becomes a very fun little game of cat and mouse, hide and seek, and so on and so on. It becomes especially fun because of the fact that I can now poison and rot them from behind, and they don't even know I'm here. Of course, as we go, you gotta still be tactical about it. The Phantom, for example, was trying to be observant, but due to good positioning and reapplying my buff, I'm once again practically invisible. And the second I know they're looking away, I can sprint up on them and start applying my status effects. The one problem with this is that it becomes quite hard to convey in a fun manner in a video. Because really, how do you make the fact that I can hide in a bush for 10 minutes interesting to watch? The answer is you can't really do that. It becomes quite boring, to put it frankly. Nonetheless, I did find stealth to be a very fun part of this entire build. And especially here in Limgrave, with all the different bushes, is a very fun experience. I will try and add a few clips of just people not realizing I'm there afterwards, and not bore you with a lot of long clips of me stalking someone, even though that was a big part of the fun of the build. Also, I should mention that Concealing Veil is good to have with you, but not as good as Assassin's Gambit is, since you get both effects from Assassin's Gambit, whereas Mimic's Veil only gives you half of it, if you will. As we see here, you can even throw in a little danged JM and use your bows too for status effects. And here you can see, this Phantom doesn't even realize his host is already dead. And that's a GG. Here at the end, I just wanna say thank you to everyone for actually watching the video, and my videos in general. The channel has grown a lot over, well, ever since DS3, but also, I hope these videos are actually, well, tickling everyone's fancy. I've been trying to get better at the whole commentator thing, and I hope I am getting better at it. It certainly feels more natural by now than it did in DS3. I should also mention that I have been streaming on Twitch. A lot of these new builds I've been showing in my videos, I have been experimenting with on stream before making the videos. Particularly this one, every clip shown has been caught on stream. Beyond that, I just want to say, again, a thank you, and that I hope you all keep enjoying my content, and that, well, you will keep watching it. Also, a quick shout out to Prin, who you see getting poisoned in the background, for helping out with a lot of stuff. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.